When an individual joins the 190 Vision community, they inevitably experience a paradigm shift. If you want to know what that experience is like, continue watching this video. When I started to learn about the teachings from my husband, but we weren't husband and wife at the time, I would speak, and as I would speak, I would constantly be corrected. And my husband would say things like, "Why did you say that? Why would you say it that way? Why wouldn't you say it this way?" Oh my gosh! I mean, it felt like every time I opened my mouth, I was being corrected. And I got mad. I would be angry. I'm like, oh, I can't say anything in front of this man. And it got to a point where, I'd be talking to individuals or doing a training with some associates, and he'd be like, "Why did you say that? Why did you do it that way?" And I would get so flustered, I would just get quiet and just walk out the room. And I just cry to myself, why is he like this? Why does he hate me? But then as I learned more about the teachings, I understood my words have a lot of power, especially because I decree on a regular basis, and what I say happens more frequently. And that's when I started to understand the power of the words that were coming out of my mouth. And I became very self-conscious as to what I was saying. And I would start to speak, and then I'd stop, and he'd be like, "Is that all you had to say?" I'd be like,
"Probably because I'm surprised."
No, I didn't finish the thought, the words coming out of my mouth, because I have to rearrange them so that they come out properly. He'd be like, "What?" So, it was very tough for me in the beginning, because I grew up speaking in a very negative way, and I realize that now, not when I was going through it, of course. And so it took a lot of effort on my part to change the way I thought, to change the way I speak, so that I could be more positive all the time and project what I want in my life. Because again, our words have power. And once you start to realize that, and you really see it in action when you are going through your daily life, it will settle in, and then you'll calm down. And you'll be like, okay, I can do this. But believe me, it took me several years to get to that point.
I feel tired listening to you. It's like
well,
breath.
It was a tiring process for me at some points.
That's the frequency I'm feeling.
Especially when our kids were so young, and my husband said, "Why did you talk to them like that?" Even to this day,
yes.
There are times when I say things, my husband will be like, "Why did you say that to the kids?" I'm like, "What did I say? What did I do now?" I still get a bit defensive. Then I listen, and I'll calm down and go, "Okay, I was wrong in saying that. Let me go correct that." And I'll go to the kids, and I'll correct whatever it was I said to them, and make sure we're on the same page.
But let's correct that. Because it's not that you were wrong in what you said.
See? Here is an example, a live example.
It's not that you were wrong. Remember, it's not about right or wrong.
Right.
That's one of the things, that's one of the paradigm shifts that have to take place with individuals when they get introduced to the teachings. Everybody's so used to being judged.
Yes.
Okay?
And judging themselves.
Exactly. That all of a sudden, they're thinking, if we ask, and I ask a lot of why questions, right? Why?
Yes, my husband does.
And I've been taught that. So
that's the scientist side.
So here we are. The moment they're asked a why, depending on what that why question is following, someone can get defensive.
Mm-hmm.
They think that they're being attacked. The part they should remember, though, is that they're part of the 190 Vision community.
Yes.
They are in a community that operates under unconditional love.
Mm-hmm.
There is no judging. All right? And if we were to do that, the Zen masters would probably slap us.
Indeed.
Okay? So we don't operate that way. At the same time, we want to make sure that that shift takes place, as in, okay, You didn't do anything wrong. You're not a failure.
Right.
Okay? You didn't make a mistake. Those things are not accurate. Those things come from the mass consciousness that people have been programmed with since they were kids. So becoming a part of the 190 Vision community, all of a sudden it sounds like, okay, hold it. Let's rephrase that. So they're like, what do you mean?
Indeed.
And because people have never stopped them, to rephrase their language, then they start to feel uncomfortable. It's like, well, I want to be quiet now. I don't want to say anything because if I say something, somebody might correct me.
That's exactly how I used to feel.
But the whole point is you should look forward to someone not correcting you, correcting the way you speak. See, and that's the thing. People always think that they are being corrected. No, it's not you that's being corrected. People should understand that the way they speak is not them. And the way someone behaves doesn't define that person.
Right.
But in life, that's the way it is, right? Someone does something wrong, all of a sudden they're labeled by that experience that they just created.
And then the person accepts ownership of that.
Okay? While in the 190 Vision community, and when I say 190 Vision community, it's really the community of the Ascended Masters, right?
Right.
In that place, that protected space, we then help you to move forward. But the way we do that is by pointing out what you should do better. But not because you're doing it wrong, it's because it can be better, so you can be more effective.
And a lot of times it's also to help you just see it from a different perspective. Okay, you said something this way, but if we change that and you say it this way, which one will bring what you want into your life?
Or even which one feels better.
Right, which one feels better as well.
So let's say it this way and let's say it that way. Now you tell me which one feels better. And then the person then understands, okay, this is why I should say it this way. One of the examples I've used in the past, and I used this with you years ago, is that people will say something like, if you ask somebody something, like, oh, did you happen to do what I asked you to do? Have you done it yet? And they'll say, oh, I didn't have time. Right? That's what I say. I don't have time yet, but I'll get to it. Well, what do you mean you don't have time? There are 24 hours in a day. I'm sure there's time. All right? The bottom line is that if I haven't done it, it's because I have chosen not to make time for it, which means as of right now, it's not a priority.
Right.
So why don't you just tell the person that? Why don't you just tell the person, you know what, right now I've chosen not to do it. Because that's what it is. See, but someone will take that in a negative way. They'll be like, well, what do you mean? I'm not important to you?
Yep.
Well, as of right now, with my list of things, you're not at the top, yes. It doesn't mean that you're not important to me, but it's not you, it's what you're asking me to do. That's not a priority on my list compared to the other things. So you might be number 4 and there are 3 ahead of you. So as I get the other things off, then what you asked me to do is going to go to number 1. But don't confuse what you asked me to do with how I feel about you. The two are 2 different things.
Right.
And people, what they'll do is they'll associate that. And I can't believe that I asked you to do something for me and you did all those other things first. You don't care about me. How do the 2 relate? You know, how could my feelings for you be judged by whether or not I do you this one favor that you asked when I already have a bunch of things that are extremely important that I have to get done? But because you came along, and to show that I really, really care for you, I have to now disregard these very important things that I have to do. So people tie emotions to things.
Yes.
You know, and so you come into the 190 Vision community and then we say, let's change the way, or let's improve the way you communicate. You know, and we already know this, the masters teach us this, we should take responsibility for anything that happens to us.
Right.
So that we take the responsibility by saying what? I chose or I choose to do this. It's not that you don't have time. It's not that something else came up. You chose to do that. And someone shouldn't take that as negative. You know, they should take it as a positive because you're telling them, listen, I have certain things prioritized. And if you were number 1 on that list, I wouldn't ignore you. I would make sure I take care of you first, whatever it is you have to take whatever you asked me to do, and whoever came in afterwards, they'd have to wait because what you asked me to do is more important. So I say there to look at it from that standpoint. Oh, I get it now. This is someone that sticks to his words or sticks to her word, you know, prioritizes everything and makes sure those things get done. And what comes next will be put into the queue. It'll be taken care of, you know, when the time comes. But don't think it has anything to do with how someone feels about you.
Right.
It has nothing to do with that. But in the old world you're coming from, that's the way people normally operate, right? There's favoritism.
And they try to, you know, help who they can and put people as priorities when they come asking for help. That's part of the culture. So, but again, here in our 190 Vision community, we are here to help you with changing your perspective and helping you to also work on how you word things so that, again, you can bring into your life the things that you truly want and what resonate with you.
But it's not even how they word things, it's also how things are perceived.
Yes.
Right? And what I just said about choosing, that's more of a, even though it's words,
That's perception.
it's perception, right? Because it's about how you perceive what you're doing and how someone perceives what you're doing on their behalf. You know? So it could be a big change for someone when they come into our community. Because all of a sudden, they're like, wait a minute, what are you guys talking about? You know, you're telling me that now when I say I can't do something, I shouldn't say that, I should change that?
Right, right.
Yes, we're saying that. You know, now, when you enter the community, you'll find out why. Right? And all the other things that we talk about as far as perception, you know, how you perceive things and how things really are, about how you shouldn't believe what you see with your eyes. You know, you hear people say things like, oh, I have to see it to believe it. Well, if you have to do that, you really have a big challenge. Because you're going to have you'll be stuck for a long time. Because in the spiritual realm, how are you going to see the spiritual realm? Until you get to that level, you can't see it.
Right.
You know?
Indeed.
So that's something that has to be, what? You have to be flexible on, or it has to change for that individual that thinks that way.
The
That they have to
perception
see it.
should
They
be
have to see it
adjusted.
before they believe it, right? And there are many things like that. I'm just trying to give some examples of the type of change that they might hear us talk about, which could just shock somebody. Then the next one is, for example, if like doing our training, so this is a good one, doing our training.
If you're a part of one of our trainings,
Right, but
this is what you could experience.
They're in their training, right? And I know one of the things that El Moria is very specific about is not just El Moria, but any of the Ascended Masters. You know, they want to avoid any individual from putting out a frequency that's non-beneficial to them.
correct.
Okay, they don't even want you to start putting it out. It's like, and so the moment you start, they want to end it right there. Depending on who you are and how far you've progressed inside the community, there are times that El Moria, especially El Moria, he will just step in and tell me, okay, just step in and end that right there.
Yep.
Now, imagine that you're talking and you're someone that you don't know me, you know, as in personally.
Right.
You're from a different country, which we have a whole bunch of those, right?
Yes.
Or a different part of the state. And all of a sudden you're talking, and then I just step in and I said, okay, let's end that right there. Let's, you know, and
Hold on. Stop.
Exactly.
Stop. Be quiet for a moment. That's what you might hear.
right? And so now they're thinking, because they hear my voice, they're thinking, okay, Ken just
Ken's
cut
cutting me off.
Exactly.
Why won't he let me talk? He
Bingo.
won't let me say what I need to say.
He's not listening to me. He doesn't care about what I have to say.
I used to do that. Yep. Yep. Personal experience here.
But the part that don't recognize is that the personal me wouldn't do that. But if I'm guided to do that, I will do that, and I understand why. It's because that person should not put that frequency out there. And
Correct.
whatever it is that they were trying to put out, Jesus or Muhammad or Krishna, they're saying, we need to end that right there. We don't want that to go on.
Right.
Let's change that frequency. The person doesn't recognize it though, and then they still want to keep talking, then I have to say, no, just stop.
And then a lot of times the ascended master who's, there at the moment will say, this is, and my husband will say, this is El Moria speaking, and this is what he's telling you to do, to please stop, quiet, and listen for the moment.
Okay.
So that will happen. And
Right. So imagine now coming into that. That's a big paradigm shift,
huge.
right? Because someone could take that as they're disrespecting me. They don't want to listen to me. That's not it. They're literally protecting you from putting out the wrong frequency, and
Protecting you and everyone who was in that training.
that's correct. Okay?
Right.
So that's one there. Or as someone is talking, we might say, and any of the trainees will do this, I'm sure. They might say, well, you might want to reword that this way, because the trainees are trainers, right? They're training
Right.
the individuals. If you're part of Project Prosperity, they are your trainers. And as they've been trained, they recognize these certain things that should get corrected.
Correct.
Or not corrected, but modified, so you get beneficial results. And they'll tell you right there. But they're not telling you to make you feel bad. They're not telling you for you to look bad. They're telling you so you can improve your perspective on something, improve the words that you're using so they're more positive. So instead of something like, I hate this, right?
Right.
Very strong word,
Yeah.
You put that out there, what do you think you're gonna get? You're gonna get hate, because what you put out is what you get.
Exactly.
So one of the trainers might say, how about if you reword that? And look for the good in it. Everything has good. So what we want to do is identify the good in everything. And we have a video about that, right?
Yes,
see
we
the
do.
positive everything. So
Yes.
we want to link that to this one.
Okay.
So people see that. But that's what it's about. It's about changing your paradigm, or you're having this paradigm shift where you're realizing now, oh wow, the way I used to do things, they're literally telling me that I need to change that if I want to see positive results.
If I want to grow beyond where I am.
That's correct. Okay?
Yes.
I remember when I was going to school at Northwestern, I had a professor who told me, she got this book specifically for me, because she told me, said, Ken, I know that you've been successful in your life many times. I can see it, the way you talk, everything, the way you carry yourself. You've been a very successful man. She said, that's not the issue. What you have to remember now is that what made you successful to this point is not going to help you to be successful going to the next level. You have to change now even more. And I looked at her, I said, what? She said, if you want to be more successful than you've ever been, you have to now change from the way you operated before, because you're going to go to another level. And she got me this book. It was called Who Moved My Cheese? She said, I got this book for you. You read this book and you'll understand what I'm saying. And sure enough, when I read the book, I got what she was saying, that every time you need to go to another level, improve more. You have to, whatever habits you had and whatever got you to that level, those now have to be changed to another or a higher frequency if you talk energy. You can't expect to be behaving the same way, looking at things the same way, and expect to get better results. It's not going to happen. You literally have to change that and start seeing things in a more positive light, at an even higher frequency.
Right.
And that's how you see better results. And that's what 190 Vision is. That's what the community is. We're raising your frequency. We're raising your awareness. We're raising your level of perception to a point beyond anything you've ever experienced. And it could be painful. It could be scary.
Yes.
Because all of a sudden it's like, what? You're telling me this, and you're telling me that, and all these things I thought were right. You're telling me, okay, let's kind of
Adjust
modify that.
those.
Exactly. There you go. Adjust those. So that's my part. What do you have to add to that?
Oh no, it can be very, very uncomfortable, especially for someone like me, who I was very much so resisting the change. Change was always something that I did not like, but I've learned to embrace change. And even as you've seen in this video, if you've watched other videos of ours, you'll see my husband is always helping me with my course correction how about if we address it this way instead, or let's change what you just said, or no, that's not very accurate. So I'm always open to it, and people will watch these videos and say, oh, I wouldn't want to be you in the hot seat.
That's right, they say hot seat. Right?
Yes, they always call it me being in the hot seat, you know, because I'm always getting corrected in different ways, and I never saw it that way. I still don't see it that way. Sometimes I do. Sometimes. It's not normally in the videos, but it's a process. And the more you can embrace it and go with the flow and know it's going to take you to another level of understanding and another level in your life, then it's all good.
But remember, it also happens with myself. You make it sound like I don't do it. I do the same thing. Mm-hmm. Remember the one time last year during the soccer season, we were having, or maybe it was the year before, we were having our classic, our Scottish Classic.
The year before. Mm-hmm.
The year before. And our Scottish Classic is where our high school team, the boys varsity team, sponsored the tournament. And it's called the Scottish Classic because our team is called the Scotties. And we have all these teams that come from all over and they participate in it. But if you remember, I was leaving the complex because I can remember there was something, it was socks. Some of the kids required socks. Uh-huh. So I had to come home and
socks.
get
There's
socks.
special socks you have to wear to play soccer.
Well, ours are even more special.
Yes.
Because they're high quality socks we get directly from Nike, from the factory for the kids. So I had to come home and get the socks for the kids. And as I was driving out, one of their parents stopped me and they said, oh, I have money for the socks. Do you want me to give it to you right now? Remember me to tell you that story?
I don't recall it.
Okay, well, they stopped me. I said, no, don't give me the money. Oh, then she said, or do you want me to give it to your wife? And I said, oh, I always give it to my wife because you never want to give me money.
Right.
Remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
And then I drove out of the complex, and as soon as I got to the gate, it's like Elmore just popped up and he said, why would you say that? Mm-hmm. You know, why would you say that? And I'm like, oh, geez, I can't believe I did that.
Yep.
And I just said that without thinking. Mm-hmm. See, but literally what I was saying was, I'm not good at holding on to money, so I give it to my wife. She does a good job holding on to it. Why would I even bring that type of energy on myself?
Indeed.
So see, I did it there. And then we're telling people, just like we're doing now, watch your language. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as I got back, I told you. I said,
yes,
I can't believe what I did. But this is exactly what I did. Then, of course, I talked to more about that, and then did the decrees, and everything was fine. Mm-hmm. But I want to make it clear that it happens to me as well.
It does.
Sometimes I just...
My husband is not exempt.
Exactly.
Just the Ascended Masters are normally the ones who catch him, and then he tells me about it.
That is true. That is true. Yeah.
He'll come into the kitchen. You know, I was just having this thought, and all of a sudden Mother Mary appeared, and she set me straight. And I'm like, oh, thanks, Mother Mary.
So the point is, folks, it happens to me as well. Okay, as I've told you guys many times, none of us are more special than the other person. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm not any more special than you are. You might think so, and if you do that, cut it out because you're not accurate in your thinking. And you might say, oh, it's because you can communicate this to the masters. Yes, but you'll be able to do it soon. That doesn't make me special. It just allows me to help you for now until you can do it yourself. That's it. There's nothing special about that. So anyway, get ready for your paradigm shift and enjoy it. You know, participate in your training if you're in a training group, and that's how you learn. You shouldn't be quiet.
Indeed. Hope this video has helped you. We'll see you soon. Remember to subscribe and like this video. Join the Facebook group 190 Vision to connect with others on the same journey. Get help by visiting our website 190vision.com. Support the 190 Vision mission by clicking on the donate button, which is at the bottom of each page of our website.